Elio's the new Pixar movie 2025. Is this movie any good? Let me tell you what I think, and maybe that will help you out coming up next. This has been a summer of endless franchise after endless franchise. I'm glad to have something new and fresh. Elio, it's not a sequel. It's nothing like that. It's a new movie. Well, sort of. Actually, it's a patchwork of science fiction tropes and even movies, story ideas. It's a whole bunch of them jammed together in this first contact scenario where a little boy named Elio, who's orphaned, he's got an aunt who's his caretaker now, and he wants to be abducted by aliens, and he is. First act of the movie is Elio going through the process of, well, getting abducted, and then basically into the first to second act, and the whole second act he's out in outer space. He becomes part of this, and this is where I sound like I'm on drugs. He goes to the Pan-Galactic Communiverse, a network and United Nations-like group of hundreds of aliens, benevolent aliens, and he's going to enter into their presence and become the representative of Earth. He's pretending to be the leader of Earth, and he wants to live on the Communiverse out in space away from Earth and his aunt. But the Communiverse has another possible member, Lord Grygon, who's well, what is he? A slug alien, and he's very violent and malevolent, like the Klingons in Star Trek. They reject his application to the Communiverse. He threatens to destroy them. Elio has to go negotiate on the behalf of the Communiverse, and maybe then he'll be accepted into their ranks. Okay, so this is a Pixar movie, big-eyed, baby-looking characters. Everything is pretty innocuous, even though they're using a lot of science fiction horror movies. You're going to see The Thing referenced. You're going to see Alien franchise referenced and a couple other horror movies like that. But really, I mean, little kids could watch this movie for sure. And also about every 5 minutes, there's something new. And there's a prison break in this movie. There's a need to fly a spaceship. Elio's got to figure out how to fly a spaceship. He meets a buddy alien. This is the best part of the movie where you have a cool buddy pair. It's Lord Grygon's son. Kind of a funny character, even though he has no eyes and is definitely not Pixar cute. And what is the lesson to be learned here? There's several moral lessons. Pixar has become sort of our Sunday school teacher and psychology professor. And Elio's got to learn to go back to Earth and enjoy it and get along with his aunt and to restore that relationship. I mean, of course, that's what this movie is going towards, as you see it as the major plot problem at the beginning. Now, the movie has another little agenda, maybe a major one, because there's a Carl Sagan voiceover in this. Yes, this movie takes from the 1995 movie Contact, which Jodie Foster character loses her dad, then is looking for her dad in the sky through the aliens. Here, the metaphor is Elio is lonely in the universe because he's newly orphaned, his parents are dead, his aunt is his only caretaker, and so he needs friends, or he feels totally alone in the universe. Well, meeting aliens is that substitute for the family that he wants secretly or doesn't understand that he wants. And so the Contact metaphor is you meet aliens, we're not alone in the universe, and you get some messages about Voyager 1, about the search for extraterrestrial life and how that's a good thing to do, I guess, in our own real world. Now, I am down on this movie more than most people, as it looks like online. I did not care for it that much for a couple of reasons, although it is pretty watchable and passable in its own way. I am not sure first who the demographic audience is. Once again, Pixar mixes, elementary college psychology, or a little bit of that, with gee whiz action fare. The color scheme looks toy aisle bright, very bright primary colors, especially in outer space. That codes as kiddie, at least among my own children. I took my 11-year-old son who didn't like it, but that's an anecdote of one. It looks like it's for little kids in its own aesthetics, but some of the messaging goes way beyond that, of course, especially with the cosmological implications of searching for intelligent life and this Carl Sagan moralism at the end of the movie. As well, the characters are paper thin, and they're more thin than ever in a Pixar movie, while they're trying to appeal to everybody and gives a general psychological and social lesson here. Elio, what is he? He only has one problem, and that's that he's orphaned. Terrible problem. But what else is he? What's his favorite subject in school? What does he like to eat? You won't learn anything about this character at all, other than that he's parentless and doesn't get along with his aunt. His aunt, too, is paper thin, and this is the pair that needs to unite later in the movie. And the other characters, they're there as sort of cutesy, mostly of them are cutesy Pixar characters. So there have almost no characterization in this movie, and then the plot goes from one thing to another about every 3 to 5 minutes. kind of riffing on, as I said, different science fiction franchises. With the Voyager fair, you get the first Star Trek movie. The Last Starfighter shows up when Elio is cloned, and his clone goes back to Earth and fools the Ant into believing that Elio's still on Earth. I mentioned Alien, I mentioned The Thing. You know, there's several of these, and so this feels like a patchwork quilt of science fiction fare, but the movie is not grounded in any particular world that it describes well or believes in my opinion. And the characters are so paper thin, you can read into them whatever you want. But this lack of characterization is really troubling to me. I try a little bit of development of these characters, giving them a particularity at the beginning and then moving them through a series of problems that enhances that particularity. That's just not here at all, unfortunately. As a contrast, think about Wally. Wally's very quirky. He's got his particular interests. He's a picker. He's got his cockroach buddy. There's several things when you go into Wally's world in the first 30 minutes of that movie. You kind of see this unique individual character and the particulars of the world, and that gives you reason to care about the world by the end of the movie. I know I'm comparing Elio to a classic, and I shouldn't, but at least try to do that, and you get a better than average movie if you do that in this movie or in any movie you make. I'm no expert on kids and kids psychology, of course. I just think with the movie Flow winning awards last year, The Wild Robot, several of these other movies have done really good work aesthetically recently. Impressionistic stuff in Flow and The Wild Robot. Pixar has not innovated aesthetically at all, and story-wise, not at all. So they're kind of going through the motions, in my opinion. I think they're a little too deep into trying to appeal to everybody and give psychological lessons. This turns into moralism for me. Too much moralism and less interest in the actual story. So for that reason, I give this 2.5 stars. And so all this is unfortunate because I really wish for a really good movie here, especially when they're trying to do something different and not, as I said, as a sequel or franchise fare. What did you all think of Elio? Let us know in the comments. Be kind to each other, and please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you, and have a great day.